Commander Vex 9 clicked his mandibles in what his species considered amusement. The human female hung in the containment field, her small frame looking pathetically fragile against the pulsing energy barriers. Blood trickled from various wounds across her pale skin, and her breathing came in ragged gasps. "Still nothing?" he asked his interrogation specialist, Cree 4. Cree 4's tentacles writhed with frustration. "She refuses to speak, Commander. 3 cycles of standard torture protocols, and she merely stares." And stare she did. The human's green eyes held something that made even Vex 9's battle-hardened nerves twitch. Not fear. Not pain. Something else entirely. Something that whispered warnings his logical mind chose to ignore. "Increase the neural disruptors to level 7, Vex 9 commanded, his voice carrying the casual indifference of someone ordering lunch. The human girl, who couldn't have been more than 20 standard cycles old by their calculations, didn't even flinch as the energy coursed through her nervous system. Instead, she smiled. A slow, cold smile that belonged on something far more dangerous than this small, broken creature. "You know," she said, her voice surprisingly steady despite the agony she must be experiencing, "my people have a saying back on Earth." Vex 9 perked up. "Finally, communication." "Oh? And what wisdom do your primitive people offer?" "Karma's a real pain in the ass." Her smile widened, showing teeth stained with her own blood. "And I'm about to become yours." Cree 4's tentacles rippled with what passed for laughter among his kind. "Threats? From something so weak it can barely stand?" The girl's head tilted slightly, and for a moment, Vex 9 felt something he hadn't experienced since his youth, genuine unease. "Who said anything about threats?" "I'm just sharing information." "What information?" Vex 9 stepped closer to the containment field. "Your fleet's location? Your defense protocols? Your pathetic planet's weaknesses?" "Oh, much better than that." The girl's eyes seemed to brighten despite the pain medication they'd been denying her. "I'm sharing the information that you just made the biggest mistake in your species' rather short and violent history." Cree 4 applied another surge of neural disruption. The girl's body convulsed, but her voice never wavered. "You see, gentlemen, and I use that term very, very loosely, you've been operating under a fundamental misunderstanding about humans, which is..." Vex 9 found himself asking despite his better judgment, "You think we're the sheep?" She paused, letting that sink in. "But some of us, well, some of us are the wolves in sheep's clothing, and you just spent 3 days torturing one of our most precious lambs." The lights in the detention block flickered. Vex 9's tactical display showed no system malfunctions, no power fluctuations. Nothing that should cause such a disturbance. "Makes out, we're impossible," Cree 4 muttered, checking his instruments. "The ship's systems are operating normally, are they?" The girl's voice carried a note of genuine curiosity now, because from where I'm hanging, it looks like something's about to go very, very wrong for you. As if summoned by her words, the emergency klaxons began to wail. Vex 9's comm unit crackled to life with panicked reports from across the ship. "And, Commander, hull breach on Deck 7, sir. We're detecting massive energy signatures approaching from the outer system, Commander Vex 9. The humans have sent a response fleet, size unknown. They're jamming our sensors." Vex 9 felt his confidence drain like atmosphere through a hull breach. "How many ships?" "Static." "Then we can't tell, sir. The interference is unlike anything we've encountered." "But, Commander, the energy readings, they're massive." The girl began to laugh. Not the broken laugh of someone losing their sanity to torture, but the genuine amusement of someone watching a perfectly executed plan unfold. "You want to know the really funny part, Mag?" she asked, her voice carrying clearly over the alarms. "I'm not even military. I'm a xenobiologist. I study alien cultures for a living. I was on a research vessel when you grabbed me." Vex 9's blood ran cold. If she wasn't military, then whoever was coming. "But you know what's really going to ruin your day?" The girl's grin turned predatory. "My name is Maya Liu, and my older brother doesn't take kindly to people hurting his baby sister." "Your brother?" Cree 4's voice cracked with uncertainty. Fleet Admiral Liu of the Terran Defense Force. And before you ask, yes, he's absolutely as terrifying as his reputation suggests. The ship shuddered as something massive struck their shields, then again. And again. Each impact stronger than the last, Commander. The voice on the comm was barely recognizable through its panic. They're not attacking the ship. They're carving through our escort fleet like it's not even there. Vex 9 rushed to the nearest viewport and felt his heart stop. The human fleet wasn't massive in numbers. It was massive in scale. Ships the size of small moons hung in space like sleeping leviathans, their weapons systems lighting up the darkness with the promise of annihilation. Impossible, he whispered. Intelligence said human ships were small, primitive. Intelligence said a lot of things. Maya agreed pleasantly. Intelligence also said humans were weak, emotional, easily broken. She gestured to herself with her chin. How's that working out for you? And another impact. This one sent everyone not secured stumbling. Emergency lighting kicked in as primary power systems strained. You see, Commander, here's what your intelligence didn't tell you about humans. Maya's voice carried clearly through the chaos. We don't just love our families. We're absolutely, completely, utterly insane about protecting them. The comm crackled again. Commander, they're hailing us. On screen. Vex 9 managed. The holographic display shimmered to life, revealing a human male in what was obviously military attire. The family resemblance to Maya was unmistakable, but where her eyes held sardonic amusement, his contained the cold promise of extinction. This is Fleet Admiral Liu of the Terran Defense Force, the human said, his voice carrying the kind of calm that made smart beings start running. You have something that belongs to me. Vex 9 tried to project authority he no longer felt. Admiral Liu, we are prepared to negotiate for your scientist's return. Admiral Liu's expression didn't change. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm not here to negotiate. Then what do you want? I want to give you a choice. The Admiral's smile was somehow more terrifying than his sister's had been. You can return my sister unharmed, immediately, and I'll only destroy 90% of your fleet. And if we refuse, then I destroy 99% of your fleet and hunt down the survivors for sport. The smile widened slightly. Maya always said I was too generous. From her containment field, Maya called out cheerfully, Hi, Alex. These gentlemen have been trying to convince me to share Earth's location. I told them you'd probably want to discuss their methods. Admiral Liu's eyes focused on something off-screen. Presumably another display showing Maya's condition. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. I see. His voice had gone completely flat. Cree 4 of the Hegemony Intelligence Division and Commander Vex 9 of the 3rd Assault Fleet. Both aliens startled. He knew their names, their actual names, not just their designations. How did you? Vex 9 began. We know everything about you. Admiral Liu continued as if he hadn't spoken. We know where you're from. We know where your families live. We know what you had for breakfast this morning. His eyes locked onto Vex 9's through the display. We know things about your species that your own governments don't know. Cree 4's tentacles writhed nervously. Impossible. We've been monitoring human transmissions for cycles. Your technology is primitive. Maya laughed again. Oh, you sweet, naive little squid monster. You've been monitoring what we wanted you to monitor. The implications hit Vex 9 like a plasma bolt to the chest. You let us capture you. Bingo. Maya's enthusiasm was genuinely disturbing under the circumstances. Though I have to admit, you guys are way more creative with the torture than our simulations suggested. I'm definitely going to have some strong words with the intelligence department about their threat assessments. Admiral Liu's voice cut through the conversation like a blade. You have 30 seconds to release my sister and surrender your ships. And if we don't? Vex 9 asked, though he already knew the answer would haunt his remaining moments. Then you find out why humans are the only species that evolved persistence hunting on a death world. Admiral Liu's smile returned, and it was the most horrible thing Vex 9 had ever seen. 25 seconds. The ship's defensive coordinator's voice crackled over the comm. Commander, Our escort ships are. They're not just destroyed. They're being systematically dismantled. These humans are taking them apart piece by piece. 20 seconds. Admiral Liu announced. Maya sighed contentedly in her containment field. You know, Alex, I almost feel bad for them. Almost. Then I remember the last 3 days and decide I don't feel bad at all. 15 seconds. Vex 9's tactical training warred with his survival instincts. Military doctrine said never surrender. Evolution said stay alive. He looked at Maya, still hanging in the containment field, still smiling that terrifying smile. 10 seconds. The ship lurched as something enormous attached to their hull. Through the viewport, Vex 9 could see human boarding craft the size of a ship's entire command section latching onto their armor. 5 seconds. Vex 9 made his choice. Release the human. All troops stand down. 4. The containment field deactivated, and Maya dropped gracefully to the deck. For someone who'd been tortured for 3 days, she moved with surprising agility. 3. She walked calmly to the nearest wall panel and began working on it with tools that definitely hadn't been there when she was captured. 2. Bet. How did you Cree 4 started to ask. Maya looked up from the panel she was somehow accessing without any visible equipment. Oh, that's the other thing your intelligence got wrong about humans. We're really good at breaking things, including security systems. 1. Admiral Liu's count reached 0 just as Maya finished whatever she was doing to the wall panel. The lights went out. Emergency lighting failed. Life support systems made concerning noises. In the darkness, Maya's voice carried clearly, Alex, you can dock now. I've disabled their defensive systems, unlocked all the airlocks, and may have accidentally deleted their navigation database. Accidentally? Admiral Liu's voice carried a note of fond exasperation. Okay, fine, I did it on purpose. Sue me. The sound of human Marines breaching the detention block was unlike anything Vex 9 had ever heard. It wasn't the chaotic noise of battle, but the precise, methodical sound of professionals doing a job they'd done many times before. When the lights came back on, Vex 9 found himself staring down the barrels of weapons that definitely hadn't existed in human arsenals, according to their intelligence reports. The Marines wearing them looked like they'd stepped out of his species' worst nightmares about apex predators. Maya? Admiral Liu's voice came from the lead Marines comm unit, present and accounted for. Big brother, though I could really go for some actual food and maybe some clothes that don't have scorch marks. Done. Status of the specimens? Maya looked thoughtfully at Vex 9 and Cree 4. Cooperative now. I think the reality of the situation has finally sunk in. Admiral Liu stepped through the breached doorway, and Vex 9 understood why this human had risen to command an entire fleet. He moved like controlled violence given form, and his eyes held the kind of intelligence that made civilizations fall. Gentlemen, he said pleasantly, we need to talk. Admiral Liu settled into a chair that one of his Marines had somehow procured from thin air. Maya perched on the edge of a console, now wearing a clean uniform, and looking remarkably refreshed for someone who'd been tortured for 3 days. So, Admiral Liu began conversationally, let me explain how this is going to work. Vex 9 remained standing, his mandibles clicking nervously. Cree 4 had gone completely still, his tentacles frozen in what his species displayed when facing imminent death. You're going to tell me everything. The Admiral continued. Fleet positions, command structures, supply lines, hidden bases, secret weapons projects, your species' favorite breakfast cereals, everything. We cannot, Vex 9 managed. Military protocol forbids. Protocol? Maya interrupted with a snort. Oh, sweetie, you're still thinking like this is a normal military engagement. She gestured around the ruined command center. Astea. This stopped being normal the moment you decided to play with electricity in my nervous system. Admiral Liu nodded approvingly. My sister has always been the smart one in the family. What she's trying to tell you is that your protocols were written by beings who assumed they'd never encounter humans. Your intelligence services spent months studying us. Maya added cheerfully. They concluded we were weak, sentimental, and easy to manipulate. How's that assessment holding up? Cree 4 finally found his voice. But, But you are weak. Your bodies are fragile. Your lifespans are short. Your technology is primitive. Fragile? Maya rolled up her sleeve, revealing the scars from her recent ordeal. I've been tortured for 3 days, and I'm sitting here having a pleasant conversation. How fragile does that seem to you? Short lifespans? Admiral Liu's smile was razor sharp. We pack more warfare into our brief lives than your species manages in centuries. Quality over quantity. And primitive technology? Maya's grin turned absolutely wicked. Cree 4. How exactly do you think I accessed your ship's systems without any visible tools? The alien's tentacles writhed in confusion. I don't understand. Maya held up her hand, and Vex 9 noticed something that made his blood freeze. Under her skin, barely visible, were thin lines of circuitry, not attached to her flesh, but integrated into it. Biotech, she explained casually. We don't just build our technology, but we become it. Every human in the Defense Force carries enough processing power to run your entire ship's computer system. Impossible, Vex 9 whispered. You keep using that word, Admiral Liu observed. It's becoming clear you don't understand what it means. One of the Marines approached and whispered something in the Admiral's ear. His expression darkened. Ah, he said. It seems we have a problem. Maya's eyebrows rose. What kind of problem? The kind where our guests here weren't the only ones with poor judgment. Admiral Liu's voice had gone cold again. Apparently, while we were rescuing you, their government decided to launch a preemptive strike against Earth. The temperature in the room plummeted. Maya's casual humor vanished, replaced by something that made Vex 9 wish he'd never been born. They did what? Her voice was barely above a whisper. 12 dreadnoughts, targeting major population centers. They launched 6 hours ago. Maya was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then she began to laugh. Not the amused chuckle from before, but something that sounded like madness given voice. Oh, she said, wiping tears from her eyes. Oh, they have no idea what they've just done. Vex 9 felt hope flicker in his chest. Your planet is doomed. Even if you kill us, revenge will be. Revenge? Maya looked at him with something approaching pity. Honey, this isn't revenge. This is education. Admiral Liu was speaking quietly into his comm unit. Status on the incoming strike? Intercepted and neutralized, sir. Hostile vessels have been captured intact. Crews are being processed for intelligence extraction. Captured? Cree 4's tentacles thrashed wildly. Impossible. Those were our finest ships. There's that word again. Maya sighed. Alex, should we show them the footage? I think that would be educational. The room's main display activated, showing a view of space near Earth. 12 massive alien warships hung motionless in the void, their hulls intact but their engines dark. Paralysis fields, Admiral Liu explained clinically. We don't always have to destroy our enemies. Sometimes it's more useful to study them. But how? Vex 9 began. Defensive platforms, Maya said helpfully, hidden in the asteroid belt. We've been building them for 50 years. Ever since we realized we weren't alone in the universe. 50 years? Cree 4's voice cracked. But you only achieved faster than light travel 20 years ago. According to the intelligence reports you were allowed to see, Admiral Liu corrected. In reality, we've been traveling between stars for over a century. We've been watching you, learning from you, preparing for you. Maya nodded enthusiastically. Did you really think a species that survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, and nuclear weapons would be unprepared for alien invasion? We've been expecting visitors for a very long time. The display changed, showing Earth from orbit. But instead of the primitive world their intelligence had described, it showed a planet surrounded by defensive installations that boggled the mind. Orbital platforms, lunar bases, asteroid mining operations, Admiral Liu listed casually. We've been very busy while you thought we were playing with fire and sharp sticks. This is impossible, Vex 9 repeated weakly. You know what's really impossible? Maya's voice had gone deadly quiet. The fact that you thought you could torture a human and not face consequences. She stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the Admiral's fleet. Alex, what's the current count on their military assets? 17% of their total fleet strength is either destroyed or captured. Their command structure is in chaos. 3 of their primary military bases have surrendered without firing a shot. And civilian casualties on our side? 0. Maya turned back to their prisoners. Do you understand what just happened here? Your entire military assault on our species has resulted in 0 human deaths. 0. Meanwhile, you've lost nearly a fifth of your fleet in less than 4 hours. Vex 9 felt his legs give out. He collapsed into a chair, mandibles clicking uncontrollably. But why? He managed. Why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue the deception? Because, Admiral Liu said, his voice carrying a weight that made the air itself seem heavy. You made it personal. Maya nodded grimly. You see, gentlemen, humans have this thing about family. We'll let you threaten our governments, our economies, even our planets, but touch our family? She shrugged. Well, that's when we stop pretending to be reasonable. The girl you tortured, Admiral Liu continued, wasn't just a xenobiologist. She wasn't just my sister. She's also the daughter of Earth's Secretary of Defense, the granddaughter of our most decorated war hero, and the girlfriend of our best starship engineer. You essentially declared war on the most connected family in human space, Maya added cheerfully. Congratulations on that tactical decision. Dickly, Cree 4 made a sound like a deflating balloon. We didn't know. Of course you didn't, Maya said gently, because you never bothered to really study us. You saw what you wanted to see. Weak, primitive, emotional creatures who could be easily dominated. But here's the thing about emotions, Admiral Liu said, leaning forward. They're not a weakness. They're fuel. Fear keeps us alive. Love makes us fight harder. Anger makes us creative in ways that would terrify sane species. And what you've done, Maya continued, has made us very, very angry. The comm unit crackled to life. Admiral Liu, this is command. We've received surrender requests from 47 hegemony worlds. They're requesting immediate ceasefire and negotiations. 47. Maya blinked. Out of how many? 52 inhabited systems. Vex 9 felt his world collapse. Our entire civilization is surrendering? Your leaders aren't stupid, Admiral Liu observed. They've done the math. Continued resistance means extinction. Surrender means survival. But what about us? Cree 4 asked plaintively. Maya and her brother exchanged a look. That depends, Maya said slowly, on how cooperative you decide to be moving forward. We'll tell you everything. Vex 9 said quickly. Fleet positions, command codes, everything. I know you will. Admiral Liu agreed, but that's not what we're talking about. Then what? What? Maya smiled. And for the first time since her rescue, it looked genuinely warm. We're talking about making sure this never happens again, to anyone. Biao, your species is going to help us establish a new galactic order. Admiral Liu explained, one where civilizations don't torture innocent researchers for information. And in return? Vex 9 asked. In return, you get to keep existing, Maya said simply. We don't believe in genocide. We believe in education. And you two are going to help educate the galaxy about what happens when you threaten human family. Admiral Liu stood. Your government has agreed to our terms, reparations, technological exchange, joint colonization projects. Your species will work alongside ours to build something better than the empire you've created. And if we refuse? Cree 4 asked. Maya's smile returned to its earlier, more dangerous form. Then you get to find out what happens when humans stop being nice. This is nice? Vex 9 gestured around the ruined command center. Oh, sweetie. Maya laughed. This is us being absolutely adorable. You haven't seen us be mean yet. The choice is yours, Admiral Liu said, heading for the exit, cooperation or extinction. But choose quickly. My patience has limits. And you've already tested them extensively. As the humans prepared to leave, Maya paused at the doorway. You know, there's one more thing you should understand about humans. What's that? Vex 9 asked. We have very long memories. And we're exceptionally good at holding grudges. Her smile was pure predator. but we're also surprisingly good at forgiveness. The trick is not making us choose between the two. 6 months later, former Commander Vex 9 stood in the newly constructed Galactic Council chambers on the neutral world of Haven. Around him, representatives from dozens of species worked together on legislation that would prevent the kind of atrocities that had started this war. Maya Liu sat at the human delegation's table, no longer the broken prisoner he remembered, but a confident diplomat helping to shape the future of galactic civilization. She caught his eye and nodded politely. He nodded back, grateful to be alive and beginning to understand what she'd meant about forgiveness. The humans had kept their word. They'd been terrifyingly efficient in their conquest, but surprisingly gentle in their governance. The hegemony's military had been dismantled, but its people had been given new opportunities in the growing galactic community. And Maya Liu, the girl they'd tortured for 3 days, had become the architect of a peace that would last for generations. The monster that had returned wasn't the humans' capacity for destruction, Vex 9 realized. It was their capacity for hope, even in the face of unforgivable cruelty. That, perhaps, was the most terrifying thing of all.